Hello, this is Classic Hip Hop Storage Box with Sister Crystal here. And today I'm coming to you to wish the late, great Rick James a very happy birthday in remembrance of Rick James on today, February 1st, 2019. He would have turned 71 years young today, February 1st, 2019. Rick James was born in Buffalo, New York on February 1st, 1948, and his birth name was James Ambrose Johnson Jr. So he was a junior. Rick James, he was the third of 8 children. And he was reportedly raised by his single mom in a strict Catholic household. During his life, he didn't really discover like his musical talent until he got into high school or until he was a teenager when he entered into a talent contest. Shortly after that, he enlisted himself in I believe it was the Navy Reserve at age 16. But whatever happened, reportedly he went AWOL from the Naval Reserves and went to Canada. And that's where he ended up getting more into music and all of that. And I can't really think of all the people that he had worked with. He worked with a lot of people. But maybe I can come back and do more in-depth history on Rick James. But I just wanted to wish him a happy birthday on his birthday. I woke up this morning and I thought about it. I was like, oh yeah, today is Rick James' birthday. But you know how you get busy and all that kind of stuff. But I did not want this day to go by without wishing the late great Rick James a happy birthday. Also, Rick James unfortunately passed away on August 6th, 2004 of pulmonary and cardiac failure. I guess in other words, he passed away of a heart attack. But years before that, around 1997 or 98, he had a major stroke and he fought really hard and came back from it. He actually had a role in the movie called Life that starred Eddie Murphy and I think Martin Lawrence. And this was while he was in recovery from his stroke, and he fought really hard to come back from that. And what else I was going to say? Oh, yeah, he's most notably known for his music, of course. One of his biggest songs, Super Freak, was sampled by MC Hammer with his You Can't Touch This, and that was in 1990. The Super Freak song from Rick James was on his 1981 Street Songs album. And Rick James had some other really memorable songs, too. But also, what I was going to say, okay, so shortly before he passed away in August 2004, he had a very memorable performance with the late, great Tina Marie, which was they had dated and were together before in the past. And I believe the performance that they had on BET Music Awards in 2004, I believe that was their first time performing together in at least like 10 or probably 20 years. It was a long time that they had been estranged from each other and hadn't worked together. And so that's what was memorable about that. And a few months later, he had passed away a few months after their performance on the BET Awards. So that was one of the most memorable things. And it was very touching because everyone knew about, their rocky relationship. But even through it all, they both still loved each other. And it was good to see that they were back together and at least on speaking terms before he passed away at the young age of 56 years young back in 2004. But again, happy birthday, Rick James. We appreciate your contributions to music and being an inspiration, a musical inspiration to a lot of other musicians out here. Your contributions will never be forgotten. So again, happy birthday, Rick James, and this is Classic Hip Hop Storage Box with Sister Crystal. Feel free to comment. Did you ever go to a Rick James concert? Oh yeah, that was another thing too. His concerts was lit from what I've heard. Literally, like he would be on stage, and I think he had an album called Light It Up or Fire It Up, and he would actually have a marijuana joint in his hand, and he would ask the crowd, "Can I fire it up? Can I fire it up?" And they would be like, "Yeah." So he was like smoking like marijuana for real on stage. I mean, I've heard, you know what? I've only seen clips of his concerts, but I would have loved to have been able to attend at least one of his concerts in his heyday, because he was just doing all sorts of things, and it was just like a celebration, a light show. I think they had fireworks and stuff like that. He really put on a great show. So he was from that era where of artists that not only they had great music, but they put on a wonderful, memorable show. Now, I'm not advocating, that was it's illegal, to light up the marijuana. And even now, I know certain states it's becoming more acceptable and legal for medical marijuana. But back when Rick James was doing it, there was no talk. Well, I shouldn't say there was no talk of it, but it was illegal. It was illegal to smoke marijuana, and he was smoking the marijuana on stage. But that was Slick Rick. That was Slick Rick for you. He did what he wanted to do, and we loved him for it. We wish sometimes, he overindulged in some of the stuff, the drinking and drugs, and he had even said that. But towards the end, he was working his way to come back from it. But you only live one life, so I'm glad he was able to do what he needed to do. From what I know, he has 3 or 4 children he left behind, from my understanding. So I believe that's what I was able to find. The only child's name that I can remember is Tasman, and that's his youngest child, a boy, Tasman. But I know he had other children also. Again, happy birthday, Rick James. This is Classic Hip Hop Storage Box with Sister Crystal. And until next time, take care.